They had the look, the songs, and Gene Simmons in their corner, and still vanished without a trace. If that doesn't scream forgotten gem, I don't know what does. I know you guys know your 80s rock, but even the most hardcore fans might have missed a few. So here we go. Alright, let's kick this off with a band that even diehard 80s rock fans might have missed. Aircraft. Now, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know much about these guys until a buddy of mine played them during a late night hangout. And wow, talk about an underrated gem. They came out of Wisconsin and had that smooth, radio-friendly AOR sound. Think a mix of Journey, Survivor, and early REO Speedwagon. Their self-titled debut in '84, it's packed with glossy keyboards, killer harmonies, and hooks that should have been all over FM radio. Songs like Can't Run Away and It's Not So Easy sound like they were made for cruising down the highway with the top down. What's wild is that Aircraft actually opened for some huge names back in the day. REO Speedwagon, Survivor, even Night Ranger. They had the chops, the look, and the sound. But without a major label behind them, they never got the push they needed. Classic case of right band, wrong time.
Lives on my blog. Yes, you got
Steelheart hit the scene in 1990. But let's be honest, they sounded like a full-blown 80s band. Everything from the high-octane vocals to the polished guitar solos screamed glam metal, even as grunge was waiting in the wings. Their debut album delivered more than just the hit, I'll Never Let You Go, Angel Eyes. Tracks like She's Gone and Can't Stop Me Lovin' You proved they had serious chops. And frontman Miljenko Matievich, that guy could hit notes most singers wouldn't dare dream of. Pure vocal firepower. Here's the twist. In 1992, during a live show, a lighting truss collapsed and crushed Matievich's face mid-performance. Just like that, the band's rising star was stopped cold. He survived, but the moment and the momentum was gone. It's a shame because Steelheart had all the makings of a long-haul rock act. Give that debut a fresh listen. It still hits hard today. Now here's a band that should have been huge, The Bees. Ever heard of them? Most folks haven't, and that's the crime. Formed in Chicago, these guys dropped their debut album Get Up in 1982, and it was loaded with punchy power pop meets hard rock energy. Think Cheap Trick meets The Knack, but with more edge and polish. Their lead single, Get Up, even landed them a spot on American Bandstand, and for a brief moment, it looked like they were going to take off. The songs had attitude, the band was tight, and they came out swinging. But what really made them stand out? Their live shows were electric. They'd play like they were headlining Madison Square Garden, even if it was just a local club in Chicago. Frontman Tom Holland, who had also played with Steppenwolf, brought this gritty, no-nonsense energy that pulled you in. They weren't just catchy, they were hungry, and that hunger still crackles through every track. Let's crank things up with a wild one from Denmark, DAD, short for Disneyland After Dark. Yeah, they had to shorten the name after the Walt Disney Company threatened legal action. That alone tells you these guys weren't afraid to stir things up. Their 1989 album No Fuel Left for the Pilgrims was a straight-up scorcher. Gritty, catchy, and packed with attitude. Songs like Sleeping My Day Away delivered AC/DC-style swagger with a punk edge, and frontman Jesper Binzer had that perfect rough-around-the-edges vocal growl. Here's the kicker. They were huge in Europe. Stadium shows, chart-topping singles, the whole deal. But in the US, they stayed a cult favorite. Maybe it was the accent, maybe the name confusion, but they never got the break they deserved stateside. Still, these guys brought serious heat. If you like your rock raw, loud, and a little unhinged, DAD will be your new favorite discovery. They still tour.
You see, it could be asleep. It's not a rest.
Time to unleash the riffs. Fifth Angel is one of those bands that serious 80s metal fans still swear by. Their 1986 self-titled debut, absolutely packed with soaring vocals, twin guitar attacks, and dramatic, high-energy songwriting. Hailing from Seattle, before the grunge wave, they leaned more Iron Maiden than Soundgarden. Ted Pilot's vocals were theatrical and powerful, and the guitar work from Ed Archer and James Bird, precision with punch. Here's the crazy part. They recorded that debut before ever playing a single live gig. They were studio tight from day one, which made their first album sound like a seasoned band already firing on all cylinders. They never broke big in the US, but in Europe and among collectors, that record's a prized piece of 80s metal history. If you like your rock epic, melodic, and packed with guitar fireworks, Fifth Angel is a band you need to revisit. If you were into glam metal in the mid-80s, King Cobra looked like the next big thing. Founded by legendary drummer Carmine Appice of Vanilla Fudge and Ozzy Osbourne fame, this band had serious rock pedigree. Their 1985 debut, Ready to Strike, hit hard with flashy solos, anthemic choruses, and that unmistakable hair metal sheen. Songs like Hunger and Shadow Rider had all the ingredients for arena domination: big hooks, tight musicianship, and killer energy. But King Cobra wasn't just about style. They had substance. Their lineup featured future stars like Mark Free, later Marcy Free of Signal, and Unruly Child, whose vocals were downright explosive. So why didn't they go the distance? The lineup kept changing, and the glam scene got crowded fast. Still, those first albums are a goldmine of underrated 80s rock. If you're into bands like Dokken or early Rat, King Cobra's worth revisiting. Loud. Let's talk about one of the most technically gifted yet criminally underrated bands of the era, TNT. Hailing from Norway, they brought a slick, melodic hard rock sound that absolutely shredded, but somehow flew under the radar in the US. Their breakout album, Tell No Tales, released in 1987, was packed with arena-ready hooks and jaw-dropping guitar work from Ronnie Latecra, a true virtuoso who deserves way more recognition. Songs like 10,000 Lovers in One and Everyone's a Star were big in Europe, but barely made a dent on US radio. And then there's Tony Harnell, the American vocalist who joined midstream and brought an insane vocal range, soaring, emotional, and theatrical. Together, they crafted songs that were both musically complex and totally singable. TNT didn't play dumbed-down rock, they brought brains and chops to glam metal gloss. If you like your riffs tight and your vocals sky high, these guys are a must-listen. You think you know Cinderella, right? Big hair, big ballads, and MTV staples like Nobody's Fool and Don't Know What You Got. But there's a whole other side to this band that most people overlook. By the time Heartbreak Station hit in 1990, Cinderella had traded glam for grit, blending bluesy riffs with heartfelt lyrics. It was more Stones than Sunset Strip. Tracks like Shelter Me and the title track revealed a band growing deeper, rawer, and more honest. Tom Kiefer, the band's driving force, still hits the stage today with his solo band, playing Cinderella classics alongside new material, and he sounds just as fierce. His raspy vocals and emotional delivery have aged like fine whiskey. So yeah, Cinderella might have started out as glam, but they finished with soul and serious staying power. If you skipped their later catalog, do yourself a favor, dig in and catch a live show if you can. Okay, now, Electric Angels formed in the late 80s out of the ashes of glam punk band Candy, and from the start, they had Next Big Thing written all over them, with ties to Kiss's Gene Simmons, who managed them, and a major label deal with Atlantic. The stars looked aligned. Their 1990 self-titled debut delivered glam rock with brains and bite. Think the sleaze of the New York Dolls crossed with the melodic punch of Cheap Trick. Songs like True Love and Other Fairy Tales and the drinking song weren't just catchy. They had soul, sarcasm, and swagger. But the follow-up album? Shelved. Industry politics did what bad reviews couldn't. Bury a great band. Still, their cult following stuck around, and that lost second album eventually saw the light years later. They had the look, the songs, and Gene Simmons in their corner, and still vanished without a trace. If that doesn't scream forgotten gem, I don't know what does. Let's end this list with a true wild card. Saigon Kick. Formed in the late 80s in Miami, they were already mixing styles before anyone knew what to call it. Glam, metal, psychedelic pop, yes, all of it. Their debut dropped in 1991, but they were definitely a product of the 80s underground scene. Tight leather, big hooks, and fearless experimentation. Their second album, The Lizard, gave us the haunting ballad Love Is On The Way, which briefly cracked the mainstream. But if that's all you know, you're missing the good stuff. Guitarist Jason Bieler crafted massive riffs one minute and delicate acoustic passages the next. Frontman Matt Kramer had a theatrical vibe that added even more drama. They didn't care about fitting into one lane, every song was a curveball. Too weird for radio, too talented to ignore. Saigon Kick is one of the most adventurous and underrated bands to come out of the late 80s rock scene. There you have it. Another 10 forgotten 80s rock bands that still pack a punch. Dig deeper, spin the vinyl, and keep the spirit of real rock alive. These bands earned it.